Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. We got to talk about TJ Hockenson today. TJ Hockenson has been leaving practices, and so we know clearly that means there's some money on the table or some conversations about money on the table, but it still hasn't happened. He still hasn't gotten the extension. That was one of the reasons why he left the Lions. So we'll talk about that next, but we also have Dom Barber coming up on the Ron Johnson Show. Really, really special guest, Dom Barber, brother of the late, great Marion Barber III, the Barber family. We'll talk about that as well, being one of the best families, most well-known families in Gopher football history. We got both of those coming up on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Like I said, on today's show, we got to talk about TJ Hockenson. We have to. And we also have Dom Barber joining us in the Hanging Ron Johnson segment. And then, of course, we have the Daily 3. But I want everybody to know this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Just visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to make every moment more. And again, the season is getting closer and closer and closer. The further away it is, the better chance you have of getting a really, really good parlay early, a really good prop bet early. Once that season starts and people start to figure out and the bets start getting laid, those odds get worse and worse for you. So they're better right now. So don't forget to jump out there now and check out some of these early, probably, especially if you know the Vikings are going to beat the Buccaneers. I think they are. I think it's a lock for them to beat the Buccaneers, depending on who's quarterback. So make sure you go to FanDuel.com/Locked On to place that bet. Also, again, we know Minnesota, you guys can't do it, so you can feel free to drive to Iowa because I've done that. It works. But as I bring my producer to the show, Sam Ekstrom, looking at TJ Hockenson, we talked about this, and you brought up some good points with TJ Hockenson. Why is he not signed? He's been leaving like the night practice. I know he left early. What's that about? I'm like, well, usually if there's a contract negotiation going on, both sides want to be respectful of each other, but also responsible. The responsibility side of it is they don't want TJ Hockenson getting hurt and they're trying to work out a contract or, and I'm not saying this is happening, or a possible trade. Secondly, TJ Hockenson doesn't want to get hurt if he hasn't signed that deal yet. And so we know other teams are going through this as well. It's part of the business. It's the business side of football that everybody hates. And this is why players want their money because they're like, look, if I get hurt, what kind of financial security do I have? If you look at TJ Hockenson currently, which he's making a lot of money. But currently his total value contract was $19 million. It was going to be $4 million average for the year. When you look at average salaries for the year, Sam, I'm going to name some tight ends. You just say better than or not.
Okay.
Is TJ Hockenson better than Darren Waller?
No. It's close.
Making $17 million a year for the Giants, which is probably why they're like, look, Saquon, man, we just got this like high paid tight end for Daniel Jones, like just like Travis Kelce is to Patrick Mahomes. So give us a minute. But it's George Kittle. Would you say George Kittle?
I'd say George Kittle is better.
Would you say Travis Kelce?
Travis Kelce is better.
Dallas Goedert.
I don't know about that. I think I'd take Hockenson.
Mark Andrews with the Ravens.
Yeah. Now we're getting into the tough territory. I think that Hawkinson's right there.
What about Kyle Pitts, the rookie from the Falcons?
Yeah, more potential certainly, but for now I'll take Hockenson.
What about Zach Ertz with the Cardinals?
At his age, I take Hockenson.
Ooh, okay. We'll go Cole Kmet with the Bears.
Hawkinson's better.
Okay, so I'm not going to go through this whole list because we could be here all day. TJ Hockenson makes $4 million a year, as I said. Darren Waller, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, Dawson Knox, Cole Kmet, Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz, Taysom Hill, which I don't even know why they have him on there for tight ends, but he's everything. Taysom Hill is making more as a quote-unquote tight end than TJ Hockenson. After Taysom Hill, you got Kyle Pitts, the rookie, that makes more than him. You got Logan Thomas for the Commanders. You got CJ Azuma for the Jets, making more than him. You got Will Dissly. Now, Will Dissly, 16th on this list. He's my guy from the Seahawks because I did have to get him 1 year when I had Darren Waller in fantasy. Darren Waller got hurt, if everybody remembers that. Had a really good game against the Vikings, though, so I'm glad I had him. The Vikings still won that game, but I had him, and he went crazy in the second half of that game. They still lost. Almost won because that's what the Vikings was about. And then you got Jonnu Smith with the Falcons, who, if people don't remember, came from the Titans. Really good with the Titans. Arthur Smith goes to the Falcons as head coach from the Titans. Well, of course he's going to bring Jonnu Smith. So we're looking at 17. You got Tyler Higbee for the Rams. You got Hayden Hurst for the Panthers. You got Josh Oliver. Josh Oliver for the Minnesota Vikings, Sam. Would you say Josh Oliver or TJ Hockenson? Who's better?
At blocking, Oliver. At everything else, TJ.
Josh Oliver is making $7 million a year. $21 million total value. Tyler Conklin with the Jets. Dalton Schultz with the Texans. Jawan Johnson, who's kind of a receiver hybrid. And then Gerald Everett with the Chargers. And then Mo Alley Cox with the Colts. Sam, that's a lot of names, Sam.
Yeah.
I'm in the 20-something range. So TJ Hockenson has a gripe. He has an easy gripe. One, because he's not in the highest paid tight end in his own room. Like in his own room, he's the best, but he's not the highest paid. So right away, he could say, look, let's at least get to 8. Like, make me the highest paid in the room. What's his name? Josh Oliver's making $7 million. He's getting 10 total guaranteed. He has 8.2 fully guaranteed. And then he's a 2026 void. So he can be a free agent in 2026 if he so chooses. So that was kind of his deal with the Vikings, 3-year deal. You got 23, 24, 25, and then 26 was voided. Here's where I go with this, Sam. You have to be able to be the highest paid tight end in your own room. Like if you're the best tight end in TJ Hockenson, there's no reason Josh Oliver should be making more. So the fact that he's leaving practice, the speculation is, I think the Vikings are just trying to find the number. Like I gave you all the tight ends ahead of him. You look at, like you said, Zach Ertz. So if you're thinking Zach Ertz money, that's 10. If you think Hunter Henry money, that's 12. If you think Cole Kmet money, that's 12. Dawson Knox money, that's 13. And then Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert, like that's kind of maybe the TJ Hockenson grouping. You're talking about 13 to 14 million is where TJ probably wants to be. I can't say he's 17 of Darren Waller. I can't say he's a 16 of George Kittle. And then I don't care what Travis Kelce's getting. He's not there. But Travis Kelce also has said, just like Patrick Mahomes, I'm willing to sign for less money in order to help my team get to the Super Bowl. So that's my speculations there, Sam. I'm just going to say they're trying to find a number, one that fits their cap. That was maybe one of the reasons why they didn't want to re-sign Dalvin Cook. So we talked about the $7 million. We talked about 8.6 with the Jets that Dalvin Cook has. They're just like, look, $4 million, make that make sense to me, coach. I'm getting $4 million, and you just signed Josh Oliver, who is my second tight end. He's my backup, and he's making 7. Now he's not a true backup because they're going to go 12 personnel a lot. We know that. They're going to want to have that 2 tight ends out there with 2 receivers and 1 running back. They're going to have the 2 tight ends, CJ Ham, and then 2 receivers. So they're going to have some hybrid packages. And then we're going to have CJ Ham with Alexander Madison, or because we know there's been 2 running backs. Kareem Hunt has come here. And then most recently, I think it was Mike Davis came here. And so when you think about all that, you're looking for that second running back, maybe because maybe Ty Chandler's not your guy, or maybe you really want a 2-headed monster with Alexander Madison to be 1A, 1B. But you're going to have TJ Hockenson on the field. So my guess is these next 2 weeks, he's going to, we'll see today if he does the joint practices, and then we can follow up tomorrow to see if he even does the joint practice. Because if he leaves out of the joint practices, then it's serious money talks. And he's like, look, I can't get hurt because I'm trying to get at least $10 million a year, which I think he's worth it. But they're probably saying, look, we can't afford 10 this year. So can we give you like 8 this year to put you ahead of one guy? And then we'll every year we'll take it up. So 8, then 12, and then 14. And then here's your 3-year deal or 4-year extension. Yeah, backloaded, because the salary cap's going to go up. We already talked about that the next 3 or 4 years. Who knows after the new CBA comes out how high it's going to get. But, of course, we have Dom Barber joining us in the Hanging Ron Johnson segment. But, Sam, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think? Because I know I've seen TJ Hockenson walk off. I was on the field for the night practice. And I honestly think it's just that. It's the fact that Josh Oliver because did you realize that? Did Josh Oliver was making more than him?
Yeah. Josh Oliver got to that second contract, and Hockenson's still on the rookie deal, right?
Yeah.
So the company line, I think this came out yesterday. Company line is that he has an ear infection. Now that is a little fishy, right? Because you don't have a limp with an ear infection. You don't have a sleeve. You don't have a cast. It's very hard to prove that you do or don't have an ear infection. That's something that you would put out there if you wanted to, come up with a reason why he's not staying for practice.
Right.
Seems a little fishy to me. And if I'm TJ Hockenson, I understand why he'd be frustrated. You traded a second-round pick for me. I came into your team and I balled out with having no offseason in your playbook, and I still played great, had a great connection with your quarterback. I'm only 26 years old. Why wouldn't you want to get this done with me? Why would you be stalling to sign me when I've literally done everything that you wanted when you traded for me? So I'm sure that it is about the dollar amount. He probably wants and deserves like a $14 million salary, and that is a big commitment. But when you trade a guy who's in his prime, in a tight end heavy offense now, it makes all the sense in the world to get this thing done. So I get why there'd be a hold in or some kind of mysterious ear infection going on with TJ Hockenson. So we'll see if we see him out there today.
Well, at least has to make more than Taysom Hill. Like, Taysom Hill's getting 10 million this year. So he's got at least make more than Taysom Hill's average. Like, come on now. Give him 11. Or give him 10. Just say, hey, look, you're better than Taysom Hill, but we'll just give you that money right now. But, I mean, the Minnesota Vikings, we know they're in a tough spot anyway because their cap was just completely destroyed by so many guys they had to just cut and move on from, and it's dead cap. Like, I think the Minnesota Vikings, when you think about dead cap space, are one of the worst. Like, they're one of the worst when it comes to cap space. And so that's kind of the problem with this is, like, when you put yourself in this situation, it's not Kirk Cousins, because we know he's not one of the highest paid quarterbacks anymore. I think he's 14th. It is what it is. But, we'll follow up with this TJ Hockenson story tomorrow. I do know this. If he has an ear infection for the Buccaneers game, he's playing. So let's be real with that ear infection. But that's what the NFL does. I mean, just like Jonathan Taylor, he mysteriously has a back injury. You can't MRI. You can't see it. Like, oh, my hamstring I just don't feel 100%, coach. Like, my hamstring's a little sore. You can't figure that out. He can run a couple. I got that twinge. Let me go get this ice and stem. It is what it is, man. Like, I've seen dudes do it that had nothing to do with money. They just wanted to miss practice. So they knew they were the star. They knew there was nothing was going to happen if they had a hammy, and they knew the team would take it very serious. And so during warmups, man, I think I kind of tweaked my hammy, man. Can I go in there and get some ice and stem? I'm not going to say any names. But I know in college, for sure, I had a veteran guy ahead of me when I was a freshman and sophomore that did that once or twice just to, hey, man, I don't really feel like practicing. I know I'm going to the league. I'm going to just take today off. And then he would get like a day or two off, and then he'd show back up for Thursday's practice and be ready to go Friday. Saturday, we're playing against whoever. So it happens. In the NFL, we had that guy, minicamp. No, a number of veterans that had 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 million in their contracts. They'd always do that. So it is what it is, man. It's the name of the game. It's about staying healthy all the way through, but it's about getting your money. But it's time to pay some bills, because after that, we got Dom Barber coming up. So before we get into the Hanging Ron Johnson segment, we're going to pay some bills with one of our sponsors.
Let's tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Great partner with us here at Locked On. Football season is here. Regular season around the corner. This is the new promotion that's going to allow you to win all season long at FanDuel. You pick a team. Could be the Chiefs. Could be the Vikings. Could be the Texans. You pick them to win the Super Bowl, make a Super Bowl futures bet, and then you get bonus bets every time that team wins during the regular season. Follow along all year. Get those bonus bets that you can lay down on the dozens, the hundreds of NFL bets at FanDuel. So many futures, so many live lines. You got prop bets, you got over-unders, you got money lines. You can put those bonus bets there at FanDuel. No better place to bet football than at America's #1 sportsbook. The website to visit, FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon or visit the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Get started today betting the NFL with America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. Make every moment more.
Well, now it's time for the Hanger Ron Johnson segment. And as I promised, Dom Barber is going to join us on the show. Royalty. I mean, the Barber name is royalty around Gopher Halls. I knew his dad because when I played, my dad told me about his dad from Detroit, Chadsey. And so I learned about, Marion Barber Jr. and how good he was as a running back and, from Detroit. And I mean, let's be real, man. Detroit football, we already know the names that have joined our show. Jerome Bettis, Braylon Edwards, blah, blah. Marion Barber was another one. My dad, Ron Johnson. You can go down the list. I've got Tony Dungy. And so then I started to hear about his sons. And then, once I got done playing and I was, I got the chance to see Dom Barber play and I followed him as well, just like I follow all the guys. But Dom Barber was a guy. Like, he was a guy that would put his head in there. He would play special teams. He was a team first guy. So I got to bring Dom Barber into the Ron Johnson show, man. Dom, I want to thank you for joining me today on the Ron Johnson show. So Dom, I want to jump out there, man. Like, you're from Wayzata, Minnesota, from Minnesota. I see you had your Letterman jacket on for some reason in one of your pictures online. But you are a kid from Minnesota and chose Minnesota. Was it because of your dad or what was it? Like, why did you choose to stay home? Because right now, and you know this, man, you see this going on all the time. There's always conversations about Minnesota kids leaving the state of Minnesota to go to Iowa or Wisconsin. But you were one of those kids that stayed home.
Yeah. First off, appreciate you having me on. For me, a lot of different things. Pops, obviously being a Gopher, leading the charge, growing up, he'd always throw his old school tape on. So that's always fun. And me and Marion, we'd try to reenact, different runs or plays that he would do. But full transparency, Minnesota's the only team that offered me. Okay. Very similar to Marion too, right? Where, obviously that's the one that we're going to take, but regardless, didn't matter. I think I got offered late junior year. And it was one of those instant commits for me because I always look at, there's no place like home. Mm-hmm. Even after I was done, played Houston for a little bit, I came right back home because there's something about the state of Minnesota, not just from academic and institution perspective, but there's 18 or 19 Fortune 5s. So I look at business aspect of my life after football. We all think we can play football forever, but you can't. You got to have that second career, and didn't know at the time what I was going to do. But I knew there would be opportunity back home here in Minnesota. And that's a big reason why, when I was working in recruiting, I would sell after football, not here, but after football. Cause I think that's where a lot of opportunity presents itself here in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah. And you just had a birthday, August 2nd. So happy belated birthday. My wife also has an August birthday, the 24th. So you guys are in great company. But looking at you brought up a good point about only being offered by Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Marion was the same way. I remember I heard that story from Glenn Mason. What is it about Minnesota? Like, because I know back then there wasn't social media. There wasn't like a lot of like, hey, I can put my tape online and Twitter and get all these like offers and blah, blah. But what is it about that with Minnesota kids? Because like you said, like I'm pretty sure there's a lot of kids that get that early offer from Minnesota, but unlike you, they then get that junior or senior year offer from Nebraska or Wisconsin or Iowa and let's even go further. Like we've had some kids go to Alabama that don't play, like they're from here, they go to Alabama, they don't play, and then they're like, whatever, they want to come back. Or even Nick Carroll from Edina High School goes to Notre Dame, barely plays, comes to Minnesota, and he's a guy. Yeah. Why do you think so many kids take the biggest offer versus the offer that's going to allow them to play and thrive and do like yourself, become an NFL draft pick?
Yeah, it's a good question. I even when I was working in recruiting, I struggled with finding that answer. Quinn Carroll out of Edina, when I was working with Clay's in Fleck and staff, over that transition, very big Catholic family, right? Yeah. So I respect the fact that he went to Notre Dame because obviously Notre Dame's a Catholic school.
Correct.
But there's a lot of others that I just don't understand. I don't understand why, Carter Coughlin, obviously a great Gopher, had all the offers, he stayed home. And why? Because he wanted to be the person to change the view of Gopher athletics or Gopher football. And I think that class, Tweez and Antoine and Uncle Bubba or my younger brother and many others, Tyler Johnson, they were able to do that. That class of 2016, Flex first year, I believe, they were able to turn some heads, and they did a really nice job of Minnesota's a great state. It's a great place to play, but it's tough to, I get it. You get to Alabama or the Oklahoma. I know there's a kid here going to Oklahoma. I don't know. I don't know if you can go to Oklahoma and think you're going to play in the next year, great, but why not do it here when you can be in front of your hometown team, your family, and you can start building that, that gap of guys, the 4 or 5 stars. And in my opinion, I don't care if you're a 5-star or half a star. If you can play, you will be found and you will play on Sundays. You'll get that opportunity. No matter if you go to Oklahoma or North Dakota State or wherever you go, if you can play, you're gonna be found. So that's why I always say, why not stay home? And I think Coach Fleck and staff, they do a really nice job because they clearly recruit heavily home. And I think their radius is that 7-8 hours where they don't love to go outside of that. They will, of course. You got to go outside to the bigger, Floridas and Texas of the world. But a big focus is that 7-8 hour, because that's a radius where families will drive up here, right? And so going back to Minnesota, I don't know if that answer will ever be figured out, to be honest. You're always going to have a kid or two that wants to go to Oklahoma or Alabama, and that's just is what it is. Get the guys that want to be here, and those are the guys that you work with.
Yeah, and you brought up a good name. I forgot to bring that up. I had that in my notes, but we got Marion Barber Jr., Marion Barber III, Dom Barber, and then you got Thomas Barber.
Yeah.
So he had 3 legacies ahead of him. Was his process even did he even need to be recruited, or did he kind of come out the womb? And as he became 10, 11, 12, I think you guys were like, man, look, you're going to Minnesota, shut up. Was it did he have was this his decision as well?
100%. That's one thing about my parents. They, they never pushed us to do anything, right? Me and Thomas, we played hockey and we love hockey. Honestly, hockey's probably my first love. I just happened to be okay at football. And so, but no, Thomas, no, he was very similar to me, where when he got the offer, I'm pretty sure he committed in the next 10 minutes too, because we bleed it. Truly, we bleed maroon and gold. It is home. It is everything to us. It has, given us education. It has given us relationships. And when we go over there, we are accepted. And I can show up anytime, and I feel as though I'm still playing there, right? And so that says a lot to me. And obviously what they were able to do for my family when my brother passed and doing a celebration at the stadium, no better way to send them off than at Huntington Bank Stadium. And that's why forever, the College of Education and Human Development, CEHD, created a scholarship for him. So
oh, wow. Okay.
Through and through, I am a Gopher and I bleed it. And I will always, to my kids, I got 4 kids, 2 boys, and, I'm pushing them. Hopefully, if they want to play sports, they're, hopefully going to be Gophers. Now, my wife, she is an Illini, and, there's some, cross breed there, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, if we get there. So, yeah.
Nobody wants to go to Illinois. We'll make sure to have some NIL out there for the kids and make sure that they know, you don't want to be in Illinois. You can visit Illinois. It's a beautiful city. I love Chicago. Beautiful town, great people. But no, you don't want to be in Illinois. You don't want to be in Illini, fighting Illini. What is that? But we're not going to talk about that right now. This is a Gopher Day with Dom Barber. Dom, you just said something that I wasn't fully aware of. You said there was a scholarship created in Marion's name. Marion, your late brother. What is that, and who does it benefit?
Yeah, so that's the scholarship. The College of Education and Human Development, right?
Yep.
It's the scholarship goes to the target is for kids of lesser, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, we want these kids to mirror Marion. Marion was huge in the community.
Mm-hmm.
He was huge in inner city youth. He was huge in giving back, right? And so when they created this scholarship in his name. It's definitely something that keeps him alive. And it's one of those scholarships, can't remember what it's called, but it lasts forever. So it'll go on when I'm gone, when my kids are gone, when my kids' kids are gone. It's forever a scholarship to be named. And so, yes, I can get you definitely more information on if you want to donate to the scholarship. But it's a beautiful thing. Very gracious of the university for, putting this out for him and for us. And, it's definitely something that I'm forever grateful for, and something, I was able to go to the scholarship luncheon here a few months back, Thomas and I representing our family, and to be able to meet the students that is awarded this scholarship, right? And hear about them, learn about them. And then I can give, of course, this is who MB was, how this is how, our family hopes that you carry the legacy on as you move forward. But it is truly a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because your family, man, is split. You got two offensive players, you got two defensive players in your family.
Yeah.
I love to do that. I did this with Tyler Nubin and Jordan Nubin. Tyler Nubin, safety at Minnesota. His brother now is a running back in Minnesota. You and Marion I don't think you guys ever had a chance to play together. We definitely know your dad did, and we know you and Thomas were far apart. But who would you have a better chance of tackling, your dad or your brother?
Gosh, I was big on shooting him out. So I think because my dad's a little taller than my brother was, center, might be a little tougher for him to stiff arm me. But honestly, you turn the tape on Pops, he didn't play around.
Right.
And you're 6'4", 230 in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s.
I forgot about
different
that,
animal. And then obviously, MB was, so we had 1 year together. And, I don't know if you remember Mason, he had the Gopher scrimmage,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So of course, it's, Barber, and I think probably Lawrence was probably running the ball. And MB got me, right? And I think he could have really got me, because he had when he gets you like this, he wherever you want to go,
right? Oh, so he was the I remember that. So he was the blocker and you were the defender. You had to shed him to go tackle Lawrence. Yeah. And so he did he pancake you?
No, but he definitely could have probably around him. Not, he probably could have did like the lift in, you know how it is. But I think he kind of gave me the big brother, little brother, and he kind of just took me off to the side. But it was a battle, and it was one that I wasn't going to stand down. And I was, my freshman year, although my nickname was Biscuit, because I was a biscuit away from being a linebacker, I came in, I was, 6 foot, 185. And,
okay.
5.
So yeah, so then after that, you had the whole offensive team probably run over, celebrating. I remember that because I remember I dumped Eli Ward. You remember Eli Ward?
Wow.
So I dumped. But see, I was 6'3", 230. Wow. So you give me some of these little corners and these safeties. Like I was. That's like Mason. Honestly, I think by my senior year, he made me do it one time, and after I dumped Eli. He was like, all right, we're good. We know you're going to block. So he really didn't put me in there too much because all the other corners by my time, I had like Jimmy Wyrick. You remember Jimmy Wyrick? He was short and little. So it was like, come on, man, like Mace. Like, and so actually, I think once I had to do like a linebacker, like as if I was digging them out and most dangerous man drill and blah, blah. So, and here's another question for you though. Between you and your brother, Thomas, the linebackers.
Yeah.
Because you did say that.
Yeah.
Who between you two would have a better chance of getting your brother, your dad down?
I'd probably say the Thomas.
Okay. Because he was a bruiser. I mean, he was a bruiser. Let's be real.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And he is strong. People don't. I mean, he's definitely a different cut body than me and probably
for sure.
Too, but like the guy is strong And
so can he take you now then if you guys wrestle now? Because I know when you guys were little, I heard the stories from your mom. And you guys had so much time apart. But now, if he was to because I've wrestled my dad, my father-in-law, and if you two in the basement right now, like, is Thomas gonna get you now?
I got 4 kids and a dad bod. I'm gonna give it. I don't. The heaviest weight I lift is myself. I just do body weight only. Thomas, he still works out all the time. So I'm gonna give it to the younger brother.
Because I'll say this, man. Like you've seen the movie Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. You got daughters.
Oh gosh.
You got to be ready, man. Because in about 10 years, 10 to 15 years, you're gonna be answering that door.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? My dad was in the NFL. So when they show up, them little boys going, why is that a football player or something or a hockey player? They're going to have their chest out. They're going to be like, oh, okay, sir, nice to meet you. They're going to try to give you the firm handshake. So I'm just warning you now, man. Like I'm going to be in your corner for the next 10 to 15 years because we here. You gotta, that's what you see with me. Like I'm a vegetarian now. Like,
right.
I still hoop. So at 44, I'm trying to, because how old are you now? What?
37.
Yeah, so 37 on your birth. So I got 7. See, I got 7 years ahead of you. So yeah, so 15 years, man. Come on, I can't. Yeah, I don't want to hear a story on ESPN or something about like the #1 hockey player in the state of Minnesota runs up on Dom Barber and breaks his hand, like shaking his hand. Like, come on, man, you gotta.
Well, so the thing is, I volunteer a lot at my kids' school, right? So these kids, they gonna know me. They gonna see me, right? And so to the point where. And I'm not bullying little kids.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Like, what I do is if I hear, my kids are, something's going on at the school and I come volunteer and I'll go seek out this, young person. And I don't say, hey, don't do X, Y, Z to my kids.
Right.
Hey, let's change the narrative here and flip the script. Right. How would you feel if this happened to you? Right. And I wouldn't feel very good about it. Well, hey, maybe we should try to change that before we go do that to other kids. And then next thing you know, I'm like a hero. I'm not kidding. I go to my kids' school. I walk in and it's like, hey, Mr. Dom. Hey, Mr. Dom. And I'm like, hey, it's the best thing. Honestly, it's truly a blessing. And I got my boys, man. So my two boys, if they got to muscle up, they going to muscle up and we going to make sure. No, but can't wait for that, to be honest. Actually, yes, I can. Time's moving too fast. My twins are 8, my other guy's 7 and then a 1-year-old. So it's just going too fast. And, I'm very blessed to have what we have.
It is. Because I remember, I think you had to be like 16 because I would have been like 20. No, wait. No, you'd have been younger than that. I was 21. You were 14 because I was 21. And you might not remember this, but you guys came to like one of Marion's games. And so I remember you as like a young high school kid, young in the face, showing up. I remember your dad introducing me and he, and I think I asked your mom or something, like, is he playing football? And I'm pretty sure she did say hockey. Like, so I do remember that because for me being from Detroit, I didn't know black kids could play hockey. Like I just didn't. And I think that threw me for a loop because I was like, that was one of the first times I'm like, black kids play hockey? Yeah. And then as time has gone on, now I've got a chance to interview JT Brown because of his dad, and he played at because are you guys around the same age? You and JT Brown?
No, I don't think so.
Because he was at Eastview. He went to Eastview. I don't play hockey there.
I think I'm before.
Okay. But I met him and he and I talked and I met his wife and kids. We did like a little charity event together. Yeah. So I've met more guys now and friends of ours now have kids that play hockey at St. Thomas Academy, black African-American kids. And so I've got a chance to talk to those guys and Matt Dumba about his trying to get African-American kids gear and get them on the ice and so on and so forth because it's an expensive sport. So no, I definitely remember that. But last one before we get out of here, man, I want to thank you for joining me on the Ron Johnson. So it's Dom Barber. I'm Ron Johnson. I want you guys to remember you get any of our podcasts on YouTube, also Amazon Fire, Roku, whatever TV device you had. And of course, SiriusXM. We thank SiriusXM for being a proud partner of Locked On Sports Minnesota and the Ron Johnson Show. But Dom, one quick before we get out of here, man. And there's one thing, because, you guys were a big-time family in Minnesota sports. Your dad's on the wall, your brother's on the wall, you're on the wall. Thomas is working at the school. He's one of the best and his group. And when you think about, your memories of just football and life, and I know you've told these stories or thought about it numerous times, but what's one thing, if you were to leave something for people to remember about Marion Barber, what's the one thing you want people to always remember about Marion Barber?
His love that he had for not just his teammates, but the fans. The guy played. He played for the state of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He played for whoever he was playing for, Dallas Cowboys. What doesn't matter. He all he wanted to do was to win. He didn't want the accolades. He didn't want all he wanted was a Rose Bowl or a Super Bowl. That's it. And he was a great teammate. He wanted to be a great teammate. And that's who he was. That's who he will always be to me. That's how I will always portray him, being able to be his teammate for that 1 year I got when I was a freshman. You could just see people evolve to him. He led. You can ask any of his boys, Lawrence, even his boys, Tashad Choice, Felix, all those guys will say the same thing. We followed MB. He was the guy. Didn't say a whole lot outside the locker room. Couldn't close his mouth inside the locker room. But all in all, the dude was all about team, all about fans, all about the kids. And, caught me off guard there on that one. But, yeah, he's the unbelievable person, brother, teammate, friend.
We appreciate you, man. We got to get Dom Barber back on because you brought up a good point about the Rose Bowl. And the scope of the Rose Bowl, we all know is going to change in 2024. You'll have UCLA, USC. Then you'll have Oregon. Oregon will be joining the Big Ten. And so we're definitely going to have to talk about that with Dom because I want to get your thoughts on that. So we'll catch up with you in a couple weeks, see what your schedule's like. Definitely once the Gopher football season starts. We got to talk about that. So we definitely got to get Dom back on. But I want to appreciate you for joining me on the Ron Johnson Show. Up next, we got the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. Man, Sam, Dom Barber was great, man. I did not think he was going to get into some of those stories about Marion. I love those, so I'm glad everybody got you to hear those. But remember, people, SiriusXM is a proud partner of Locked On Sports Minnesota and the Ron Johnson Show. Just so you know, the Twins host the Detroit Tigers, my Detroit Tigers, this afternoon at noon. You can catch every pitch of the hometown broadcast on the SXM app. Just search Twins, and you have to download the SiriusXM app on whatever app market you're using. Now it's time for the Daily 3. That's 3 questions. We can take about 30 seconds each. We took a lot of time with Dom today. Take it away, Sam.
Kevin O'Connell with a hot take. He got up to the podium a couple days ago, and he declared that Johnny Munt, our favorite tight end, is the best third-string tight end in the NFL. Is KOC overhyping Johnny Munt, Ron?
You can't even get the question out. I'll be laughing. Yes, he's overhyping him. Come on, man. Like, how do you know the third tight end for every team? Like, I get it. So this is what I'll say. Clearly, he looks good. Clearly, he feels like he's making all the catches, running all the routes. Maybe he's like, man, he looks very similar to TJ Hockenson. So if he's close to TJ Hockenson, he's got to be better than some twos, maybe even. And he's our third tight end. So he's definitely the best third tight end. I'm guaranteeing that's his math. But you don't know what other teams have. A lot of teams don't even care about their third tight end. So yeah, if you want to give yourself a trophy for having the best third tight end in the league, feel free. But yes, I think he's just trying to hype him up. And but you know what? If we see some 3 tight end sets with CJ Ham and some big pack, because we talked about running the ball. I mean, he did bring that up. He wants to run the ball more. Maybe there's some 3 tight end packages coming out where TJ Hockenson and Johnny Munt are going to split out wide because you have the bigs in there and you got linebackers having to play cornerback. We'll see what happens after this once the season starts against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What you got next?
Yeah, next up, Chris Ottman-Bell. We call him Crab. Entering his 7th year with the Gophers, and it sounds like he's going to be full go on August 31st against Nebraska. He's been limited at practice, still nursing that injury, but he's on his way back. Ron, do you think that Chris Ottman-Bell still has an NFL future after his 7 years with Minnesota?
I want to say yes, just because the heart tells me yes. Like, I like Chris Ottman-Bell. He's a great player. From a business side, I have to look at and be honest with the business side. One, he'll be entering the NFL his 8th year since high school. So that means that's 4. That's 2 full college seasons. Most guys, if you look at Dom Barber, he played 4 years in the NFL. Chris Autman-Bell, at this point in Dom Barber's life, he was retiring from football. Like a lot of guys retire or don't get picked up after their 4th year of the NFL, which that means they've either spent 3 or 4 years in college, maybe 5. So Chris Autman-Bell is getting close to that like NFL retirement age. And not age, but as far as like not getting a second contract. And I think that's going to be the key is like he's already entering the NFL at a point where a lot of guys are hoping to get a second contract and rookies are a lot cheaper in the longevity. So I think it's going to be a business decision for a lot of these teams, Chris Autman-Bell, but athletically, physically, mentally, yeah, I think he's ready for the NFL. I think he'll be able to play, but can he stay healthy? But then 2, the business side of it, because we had Jordan Reed, ESPN analyst and draft analyst, and that's what he talks about all the time, the age. You know, guys like JJ entering their second opportunity for a contract and still under the age of 26. That's the things that the guys are looking for. Chris Autman-Bell, I think, is headed towards 24, 25, and he's going to be a rookie. So that's going to be a tough one. Quarterbacks, I see that happen. It's like Stetson Bennett. You know, they're talking about him like wowing some of these GMs and stuff at practice. I just don't know about that when it comes to receivers, how they handle this. Because we're charting new territory. We're heading into new territory because we've never had this with all these COVID guys and these 7th and 6th year guys, how NFL GMs are going to view them. And so this is going to be kind of our first test at it. What's the last
7
one?
years is a
7 years, a long
time. The Twins are in first place. Ron, 4.5 game lead in the Central. Do you think that fans will remain invested in this team even after football starts with the Gophers and the Vikings? Is this team going to carry through September? Are fans going to be still interested?
I get paid to do it, and I don't even do it. Like, I'm going to be a little bit disinterested. I'm going to keep up with it. Of course, like I said, Tigers are my team. So whenever the Twins are possibly playing games against the Tigers, I'm going to check it out to see what happens. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough. I will say October, though. October baseball, no matter who's playing, everybody loves playoff baseball, playoff anything, hockey, baseball. So if they do get to the playoffs, I think they can get some fans back. But in that little lull of 20-something games before the playoffs start in October, that September lull and that early October lull, I think they're going to lose a lot of their dollars, especially if it gets cold in Minnesota. They're going to lose a lot of their dollars because people will be like, look, my disposable income, I can either go sit outside or I can go sit inside. A lot of people are going to choose inside with the Minnesota Vikings. And I think, yeah, you're going to lose a little bit about that disposable income group that's like, well, I can only do one of the two. I can't go to a Twins game, at 8 p.m. or whatever, 7 p.m. or 6:40 p.m. and then go to the Vikings game at noon on the same Sunday. I can't do it. But you'll still have those diehard. There's always those diehard baseball fans that are going to be true to it and they're going to stick to it. The casuals, I think they're going to head over to football just because it's a shorter season, 17 games, and every game matters, unlike in baseball. But I don't know, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm a big baseball guy. I'll be locked in on it. The prospect of a playoff series, no matter what your record is exciting. So if there's playoffs on the horizon, I'll be interested. And that probably grabs on to some people, right? Whereas if you were in 4th place or 3rd place, I think you'd be totally tuned out. But you can win a division title, that might keep people interested.
Yeah, well, they got to win the division title first, a 4.5 game lead, like you said, and a lot of baseball left. A lot of things can happen, but this is a nice, comfortable lead. I just hope they don't get too comfortable. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. If you want endless Vikings talk, make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel where you can get all of our videos, all of our shows, also Roku and Amazon Fire, as I stated. And remember, people, SiriusXM now. There you can download Locked On Sports on the SiriusXM app. You can also have the SiriusXM app with you at the gym. Imagine that, satellite radio while you're working out. Like, I'm on the treadmill, I'm on the Stairmaster, I'm lifting because, like I told Dom, I got 2 daughters. I got to stay stronger than any dude that might show up. I need my phone. I need my music. I love to get the Dan Patrick Show as well. And so that's why the SiriusXM app is great. By the way, it's channel 85 if you want to get NBC's channel for SiriusXM radio, depending on your radio type. But mine is 85. I get all the Dan Patrick Show stuff. I get PFT. I get Chris Sims. And so there you can get that right on your phone while you're in the gym. Makes the workout go faster. An hour and a half goes like that when you listen to Dan Patrick. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. I want to thank you guys and have a great day.